According to the NIDA, the National Institute on Drug Abuse, 81,806 people died in 2022 in the United States alone due to opioid overdoses. Opioids are pain-relieving drugs that are sometimes prescribed by doctors, but sometimes used in illegal substance ways like fentanyl or heroin. Across the world, especially in the United States, countless people get addicted to opioids due to their extremely addictive tendencies, and a lot of people don't even know that they are getting addicted. I got to witness my father firsthand get addicted through opioid usage because he was prescribed them over and over and over, and it tore my family apart in the process. The opioid crisis needs to end, and action needs to be taken now, especially by congressmen. To start, let's see how big the opioid crisis actually is. The opioid epidemic started over 30 years ago in the 1990s, according to the NIH. The sudden switch from normal pain medication to the quick fix opioids caused countless people to get addicted to the drug and caused this crisis. The NIH mainly states that the reason for this being that, quote, significant reductions in the appropriate opioid prescribing occurred without safer alternatives to pain management, end quote. People went for a quick fix and it backfired. Now it caused so many people to be addicted. Opioid addiction starts first normally with somebody having a illness or an injury that causes chronic pain. The CDC did a research on opioid addiction, and they found that there was 3 main stages to opioid addiction. First was tolerance. When somebody gets an injury or has that illness that causes that chronic pain, they're administered opioids in the hospital. As they are administered it through maybe weeks or even months, the person's body gains what you call a tolerance to the drug. This means that the person no longer feels the same from the same amount of dosages. So to feel better to the drug, they have to be administered more and more opioids to feel the same that they would have at the beginning. A way to think about this is through alcohol. When a person may first turn 21 years old and they first start drinking, they get drunk with 1 shot. But as they drink more and more and more, it might take 3 or even 4 shots to get drunk as they would have back when they first turned 21. It's the same way for opioids. As a person is in the hospital longer and longer and they're administered opioids longer and longer, they need more amounts of opioids to feel the same way that they used to. Then their body gains a dependence. Dependence is when the body's functions regulate themselves around constant opioid usage. When a person then would be released from a hospital using opioids, they would then have withdrawal symptoms. These symptoms might affect their home, school, and work life, and might even cause illness. This, at this point, would lead into the 3rd stage addiction. When the addiction stage hits, this is where the stereotypical illegal substances come into play for drug addicts. A person that now his body is dependent on the drug will go to the streets and may go to the streets and look for illegal substances like heroin or synthetic fentanyl. But according to the NIDA, across the United States population, 5 million people are addicted to opioids and have opioid use disorder. The crazy thing is that 5 million people is 1.8% of the United States population. And that means that if you went into a room with 100 people, statistically, 1 or 2 of those people might have opioid use disorder. And with all of this said, this is only accounting for the people that have been diagnosed with prescribed opioid use disorder. The statistic might even be higher because it takes a doctor to diagnose them with this disorder. And the crazy thing is, with all of this addiction, all of it zips by, while a lot of the times the patients don't even know that they're getting addicted to the drug. With opioids' addictive capabilities, a person might be admitted to the hospital for 6 to even 8 weeks and be administered opioids. They might think they're just getting their pain relieved, they're getting helped by doctors, and then they get out and their body is withdrawn from, they're having withdrawals, they're feeling sick, they're feeling tired, they can't focus because their body, unknowingly, because they don't know it, are addicted to opioids. Now, this isn't all the cases, but it is a very large case. Now that we've looked at the opioid epidemic, I think we should look at the groups that are trying to combat it, or the main group. The AMA, or American Medical Association, is the main group trying to combat this multi-decade-long battle. As the AMA put it themselves, they are a professional association and lobbying group for physicians and medical students. They bring the voices of doctors that want to stand against the opioid epidemic out so that they can combat it, because when the doctor puts out their voice, people tend to more listen to it since they're an expert in the field. There are two ways the AMA is mainly trying to chip away and combat the crisis of opioids. First is through their large voice. Since the AMA is the American Medical Association, they have a pretty large voice with physicians and doctors and across the entire United States when it comes to medical advice. They're trying to spread the word that opioids are extremely addictive and trying to spread the word to even more doctors that aren't even part of the AMA, so that prescribing opioids doesn't happen over and over and over and over, so that these people that are getting admitted to hospitals don't get addicted. And then the second thing is that they're trying to lobby legislation in the government. Their main goal with lobbying is trying to get legislation passed to make medication that can help treat opioid use disorder more accessible, since right now it's not super accessible for the tens of thousands of people that are addicted to opioids. And as the AMA is fighting for so much good to be done, there is some change that needs to be started. Imagine a world where families aren't being torn apart by drugs and that people are not getting addicted all the time. You may think that since the problem is so big that nothing can fix it, but every little step matters. In the future, you may have a wife, husband, son, or daughter that gets admitted to a hospital due to an injury and illness, and they might be administered opioids. Do you want them to fall victim to this crisis that is here today? No problem is too big to be fixed. All it takes is just some initiative to get it started. In conclusion, too often we as a society see a large problem and fold under it and get scared because we don't think, since it's so big, that we can't fix it. Nothing is too big to solve as long as we come together and work towards a bigger goal. Spread the message about the dangers of opioids and stay informed for your own safety. Donate to the AMA and join the fight against the war on drugs. The process of addiction is a horrific thing, and I've witnessed it all personally. I would never in a million years wish this sight and pain upon another person. It is sad that thousands of children experience the same thing as me, and they're not as lucky as I am. This should not be a normal thing, and fighting it is what can help those children and make sure that this doesn't happen anymore. That's why this needs to stop. Think of the lives and families that could be saved, and the happy families that could be spared the loss as we come together to fight this. Donate to the AMA, and don't hesitate, and spread the word.